I am different from ordinary people. I nurse from the great mother's breasts.
Straight from the source.
Welcome back, everyone, to some more Tao Te Ching readings, jamming on the Tao with myself, Mark,
Adam.
and today we are reading number 20, verse number 20 from the Tao Te Ching.
Hmm.
Renounce knowledge, and your problems will end.
Hmm.
What is the difference between yes and no? What is the difference between good and evil? Must you fear what others fear? Nonsense. Look how far you have missed the mark.
Hmm.
Other people are joyous, as though they were at a spring festival. I alone am unconcerned and expressionless, like an infant before it has learned to smile.
Hmm.
Other people have more than they need. I alone seem to possess nothing. I am lost and drift about with no place to go. I am like a fool. My mind is in chaos.
Hmm.
Ordinary people are bright. I alone am dark. Ordinary people are clever. I alone am dull. Ordinary people seem discriminating. I alone am muddled and confused.
Hmm.
I drift on the waves on the ocean, blown at the mercy of the wind. Other people have their goals. I alone am dull and uncouth.
Hmm.
I am different from ordinary people. I nurse from the great mother's breasts.
Hmm.
Woo, buddy.
Wow.
There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah. It's quite the image that's being painted here of sort of like, it's like that classic kind of like reclusive type hermit type kind of like eccentric sage where it's like, huh? Or like it kind of reminds me of that sacred fool or a sacred clown type tradition in a lot of cultures and indigenous cultures where it's like, the importance of that fool that seems to like always be bucking what everyone else is doing. And it kind of comes up like at the spring festival, I'm like this. And like he's just constantly kind of like painting himself in opposition, and it feels like a very sacred fool role, and he mentions even the fool, right, or like that kind of archetypal energy, and it feels like that's what this is like saying, like, hey, those there for to be a sage of the Tao, especially in a time like this, it might require you to like, if you were to really like honor what you're getting from that great mother's milk, as they call it, like you might look quite foolish and different and set apart from everybody. It's really interesting.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I feel like this book brings us back to a lot of central themes that we keep seeing recurring.
Hmm.
And in this one, I'm seeing authenticity, like
Mm.
being
Mm.
yourself. And we explored that as well in number 22 with this
Yeah.
idea of being yourself and
Yeah.
daring to be different. We see all these
Yes.
people acting this way, and that's kind of that idea of the masses, right, versus
Hmm.
the individual. And we're always going to see that masses play out where there's going to be a lot of attraction to certain thing that not everybody resonates with. And you
Hmm.
may feel like, well, why am I not like everyone else? Should I be liking that thing? Well, no, I like my other thing. I like my own thing. And
Yeah.
just being in that, sitting in that authenticity and that true self and that knowing of who you are, what you like, what you dislike is okay. Even though others may perceive you as being the fool or
Hmm.
dull, or a lot of the words that they use in here. People are bright, I am dark. People are clever, I am dull.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like it's coming from a lens where they're talking about how others see them, not how they see themselves.
Yeah.
It's like other people see me as expressionless. Other people see me as having nothing or being in my mind in chaos. That brings me to the thought of mental illness, and the way
Mm.
people perceive the world is so radically different from others that they're placed in the bucket of being
Hmm.
mentally ill, but they're
Hmm.
seeing stuff through like some other lens that a lot of people cannot fully
Hmm.
understand what's going
Hmm.
on.
Hmm.
But anyone who's that kind of
Hmm.
rebel or
Hmm.
outsider
Hmm.
archetype is going to fall into the same kind of category of being the nonconformist and being
Hmm.
looked down upon, but they're the ones that are being free and natural and truly unto themselves, where others are trying to be like others so much. They're idolizing
Hmm.
and falling into others' expectations so much that they lose their own essence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting you said that you kind of heard it as like how others might see them. I also kind of like, especially that one part. Like, I'm gonna read my translation. I feel like he's all the writer is also talking about the power of like overcoming duality a little bit because they mention sort of the difference between yes and no, the difference between good and bad, right at the top. And then there's that other piece. Well, other people are bright, I alone am dark. Other people are sharp, I alone am dull. Other people have a purpose, I alone don't know. I drift like a wave on the ocean. I blow as aimless on the wind. Like to me, I feel like what's being said is like a lot of us, including myself, like we like to think of ourselves as bright, not dull. I'm sharp. I'm not dull. I'm bright. I'm not dark, right? Like I'm not because we want to pick one side. And
Mm,
I don't think he's saying I am only dark. I think he's saying he has the audacity to say I am dark.
yeah.
That does not mean that he's not bright. See, there's sort of an assumption I feel like in a duality dichotomy that like, oh, he's dark and they're bright. It's like I think he's just saying he contains darkness. Other people feel like they don't. But anyone that's ever done any kind of inner practice know they have all kinds of darkness within them, all kinds of ignorance. And the more that you go
Yes.
deeper into it, the more ignorant you reveal yourself to be. And the
Yeah.
more you go deep into these practices, the more deluded you find yourself. Like it's a fascinating thing. So I feel like he's actually saying like hey, all that purpose that you're holding on to so dearly that makes you superior, you're aimless like everybody else. I have the courage to say it. It's kind of like that Socrates, that famous Socrates quotes where it's like Socrates is the wisest because he knows he's foolish, because he knows he doesn't
Hmm.
know anything, right?
Hmm.
And sort of like that's the nugget here where I feel like that's a little bit buried, but that's what I got when I was like really thinking about it was like I think that it's more like people like to think of themselves as all brighter. And in our culture, in American culture, I'd say goodness is the biggest one where like people have these stuck on like I'm a good person,
Mm.
right? And like it just becomes a trap
That
for
virtue
people.
signaling.
Yeah, it becomes exactly where it's like, oh, any bad thought that comes in must be evil and this, that. And it's like, maybe it's just like a part of you that's sad or afraid, or, it's like, give it some love instead of just tossing it aside or thinking it's evil coming from someone else or whatever, like we have nasty stuff too inside
Yes.
of us.
That's a good
We have
point. And that makes
ancestral stuff and like it's okay.
Yeah, that makes me think of the emotion wheel, the feelings wheel.
Yeah,
We have
yeah,
all these good and bad things within us, and it's all contained in this wheel, and we must
yeah.
experience and express all of them in healthy doses and circumstances, not getting stuck in a chronic state of one or the other. But yeah, it's a good point you bring up about the duality, which obviously we see that in Taoist culture all over the place with the yin and the
Hmm.
yang. And it kind of sets the stage in the beginning of what's the difference between yes and no, what's the difference between success
Hmm.
and failure, good and evil. Yeah, like you said, it's that recognition, that awareness of seeing all the sides, not just two sides, it's even
Hmm.
beyond duality. It's like multifaceted, right?
Hmm.
And like you
Hmm.
said, people get stuck on the good or the positive so much that they bury or
Hmm.
ignore the other things. And
Hmm.
that's inevitably going to come out in some pretty messed up way because the
Yeah.
traumas find their way out and
Oh
they
yeah.
manifest in abuse or addiction or
And
just like,
and projections. We project our bullshit onto everyone else.
yeah, really like, what's the word I'm looking for? Erratic behavior.
Hmm.
You know, 'cause if you
Hmm.
can't control those emotions, they just start
Yeah.
flying out on
Yeah, there's
and
leakage. Yeah.
and I don't want to use the word control because we're not talking about control here, but manage, I think is a better word there. To manage the emotions and all the different sides of us, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. I think that's why so many practices like come down to like awareness too, because like awareness is a form of management in the sense of like when you're aware of them as containing in a whole, then there's sort of like there's a containment there that happens through just the awareness and like a continuity of like, oh, okay, this is all me. And like, yes, like this thing that's shooting out of me is a desire born out of like a really bad spot in my life or, something that I haven't quite resolved yet, right? And
Yeah.
like be able to see it. But I think that awareness is so important. And when we like just refuse to give it our awareness and our attention and refuse to like connect to it, then it kind of like is in this weird limbo where it's like leaking out of us, but it's not really like being able to be brought into the heart space and integrated and sort of, made part of the whole.
Yep. Yeah, transmuted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awareness is the first step to any kind of
Mm-hmm.
healing or growth. So yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Mm.
Love it. Oh, we'd love to hear what you all think. Please drop a line in the comments. Tell us if you agree, disagree, see something else. And please like and subscribe, share with a friend. And until next time, keep on flowing.